you ever had a feeling, an emotion?
I haven't.
He hasn't.
No.
Gavin, come on, you have so.
I guess so.
Yes, there you go.
So here's the funny thing about emotional wellness. We take all of this care with our physical bodies. We eat organic food, and we drink filtered water, and we do yoga, and we take a lot of care in washing our body and dressing it and transporting it around to different treatment modalities when it's not feeling well. So we put all of this care into our physical body, and what I find really interesting is that we somehow jump over emotional wellness and think that we don't have to put any kind of care into that. So the way we treat our emotions is basically when it comes in my observation as a culture. What we do is the emotion comes up, we try everything we can to push it down again because it's in the way, we're not exactly sure how to handle it, and we go into our coping mechanism. So what do? Well, we suppress it. So we eat, we drink, we smoke cigarettes, we go on our iPhone, we watch TV. And then what we find is the pressure starts rising, and the pressure starts rising, and the pressure starts rising, because you can only suppress that to a point.
You can't, and also it's,
Yeah, and then you're freaking out at your cat, or your kid,
or taking out other people.
Or, yeah, well, there are basically two ways that that can go. So you get sick, or you project it all at somebody else. That's really the only way the energy can go. So if you suppress your emotions and you don't express them appropriately, there are only two ways it goes. You either end up getting sick, or you end up projecting it inappropriately at other people, because the energy has to go somewhere. It can't just sit in your body and do nothing. There's no, storage tank for it. But here's the problem, and as a fellow teacher and trainer, acutely aware of this, as I'm sure you guys are too, aware, we don't have a system set up in our culture where we can actually learn about emotions. So when you go to school, you learn about all this great stuff, which is great. No one teaches you about conflict resolution. No one teaches you that it's healthy and normal to have a full spectrum of emotion. So we're all basically told that we're supposed to be happy all the time. Well, how's that working out? Seriously, not well for me. So if being happy all the time is working out for anybody, then power to you. You must not actually be human, because energetically that's not sustainable. So the signs that I have up at my booth say, ask me about the broccoli and cupcakes theory.
I saw that, yeah. I'm like, yes. I did see
Tell
that.
us.
Like, what? Yes, please tell
What?
me broccoli and
What's with the broccoli and cupcakes? So basically this is how the theory goes. Life is not composed of just one thing, and if you dig too deep into this analogy, it falls apart, so we're not going to really go too deep into it, but the basic gist of it is this, that your emotions are a spectrum. So we have organic broccoli on one side, and we have cupcakes on the other. So you could go through your whole life and just eat broccoli, and that's great, and you will be very, very healthy. Sometimes you want a cupcake, that's okay. Sometimes you want a treat, so maybe, if we lived in a different kind of way where we didn't have plants that manufactured strange processed foods, that would be honey, or berries, or something sweet, or something that feels different. You can't go through your whole life eating cupcakes and honey, because you'll get sick. But essentially, if we make the broccoli the hard stuff in life that you have to eat before you get your dessert, grief, anger, jealousy, rage, and cupcakes are happiness, joy, humor, lightness, all good stuff. You can't stay there. So as a person who's been on a dedicated spiritual path for 20 years, when I was in my early 20s and starting my journey, I thought the goal of the exercise, if I was a really spiritual person, I was going to be really happy all the time. I was going to be love personified. I was going to glow to everybody. Right? And how uncomfortable are you getting? So it's like, because in order to sustain that, you're shutting down whole parts of your experience. It's not that that's fake, that's a real place to be. It's genuine when you are really happy about something. But to have the belief system that you have to stay there all the time is not sustainable. And those are the people that have nervous breakdowns.
well, it's like when you know people and you're like, I know, like, this person, it's just so happy all the time. Like, I've never seen this person mad. It's almost like I want to see you get mad. I want to see you get anxious. Because I do know people who are just happy 20%. Like, they're never in a bad mood. Like, I want to see you in a bad mood. I want to see you anxious.
Yeah.
I want to see you get angry. I want to see you get pissed off. And you don't see that.
Because it's all in there.
Yeah.
It's all in there. We're all born with the full spectrum. So it's not like some of us were born with the pissy gene and some of us were born with the happy one. So it doesn't work like that. We all have the whole thing happening inside us. But we're not actually taught. Hello, welcome. Come and sit down. We just made it more of an intimate experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So So the biggest challenge, where are you comfortable sitting? Anywhere you like. Okay. So the biggest challenge to me is appropriate expression of emotion. So we're not taught how to express our emotions appropriately. We're taught A, to suppress them. So that they're not even part of the conversation A. But then if you do have a feeling, there's no teaching, there's no guidance about how to express them appropriately. So what you often see is someone who has so much of something built up in them and they're just going to finally express their feelings and out it comes. And it can be messy. So it's the person who cries for 3 days. It's rage that is illogical and damaging and doesn't necessarily support the person in figuring out where the emotion is taking them, because everything you feel is a gift. It's a gift from God. It's a gift from the universe saying, hey, you have a belief system or a something that we're trying to guide your attention towards, but I can't take you there if you don't open yourself up to feel it. So when you get mad, Creator's trying to tell you something. So it can be a whole range of things when you're angry. So what are some examples of where anger can take you? Someone close to you is doing something that is possibly inappropriate, that is crossing some boundaries, and you're feeling angry. So what do we do with it? Oh, I shouldn't be angry. I should just be open. Let them walk all over me. That's what I'll do. That's what a truly spiritual person would do. Or, I don't have that belief system. I actually perceive that God, Goddess, all that is, wants to support us in experiencing the full spectrum of emotion and establishing appropriate boundaries, which is very much a part of relationships. So when you have the person who is doing things that are possibly harmful and crossing boundaries with you, you could yell at them. You could unload all of your, I can't believe that you said that to me, and you blah, 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 blah. And then what does that do? Well, now they're defensive. Now they're not listening to you. Now you're in a thing. Unless unless they have their own teachings and they can handle it and they can transform the energy. So what we say is emotional expression without responsibility, without checking in about what's happening, claiming your experience, is called vomiting. It's a lovely term, isn't it? Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're taking all of your stuff and you're projecting it at them. So what we do instead is, I am feeling angry. Look at that. You've just claimed it energetically. You've shifted the whole, and you're feeling it. You might be shaking as you're saying it because there's so much energy coming through you. I'm feeling angry because I perceive that you are X, Y, and Z, and it's having this impact on me.
It's the I statement.
That's right.
Yeah, I learned that later on in life. And it's amazing. And you said you say the word I am feeling uncomfortable when you need to do this. Instead of saying you are bothering me, if you say you, that's seen as put down. But you say, it makes me feel uncomfortable when it's not happening. It makes them think, it makes them feel a little bit better.
That's right.
And I've changed that. I used to say you, instead of do I.
Right. So you're taking responsibility in language.
The I statement. Yeah.
It's huge. It's so transformational. And it feels a lot better.
It does. It actually feels. It does feel when you said it. It makes me feel uncomfortable when this happens.
Yeah.
I am upset when this happens. And the person who hears that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the switch of words makes so much difference.
It completely transforms the energy and the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer that you can gauge whether or not something is healthy or if it's true by how it feels. Not necessarily, and this takes practice, so it's not necessarily that it's supposed to feel good all the time, as in happy and blissful and light, but there's a rightness to it. So it might be like nails on a chalkboard to some part of you to express your feelings to the person that you need to express them to. It might be really, really challenging, but there's a rightness to being able to say, I am feeling angry and upset because I perceive that you are making these choices that are having this impact on me or on whatever it is. Can we have a discussion about that? So it shifts it. So you're honoring your emotions. That's emotional maturity. Now, if that one, let's say those two pieces, to just acknowledge that you have feelings and that they're okay, that's revolutionary. That's life-changing. And to most of the generations that have come before anyone born in the 70s, you were not permitted to, even for me growing up, children were to be seen and not heard. We do not discuss our feelings at all. There is no anger, there is no sadness. If you have an emotion, you go to a room and you do it by yourself. I have a lot of theories for why we did that as a society and a culture. I'm not here to discuss that today, but what I'm interested in is the impact of that belief system. And I don't perceive it's a healthy one. So we have billions of people around the world who are suffering. And it's a pretty simple equation to just shift that one thing, to be able to make it okay that you're having feelings, and to acknowledge that they're natural and they're normal, and then to take responsibility for them. And even before you communicate to another person, the trick to me is, okay, feeling angry, is this actually about them? And this is the responsibility piece. Is this about them? Or do I have a belief system that is erroneous, that is outdated, that is coming from a place in me that is childish? So before you speak, it's like doing the check-in. What part of me is angry? Is that reasonable? If I come at that from a calm adult place, is it reasonable that I'm angry about this? If the answer is yes, boundaries are being crossed. And inappropriate things are happening. It's okay. So an example from my own life. My husband he's a writer. And so he lives in a very ethereal place. And he likes, because I'm the person who lives with him, he likes to use me as his sounding board all the time. He doesn't necessarily have a filter about whether or not that's appropriate. So he'll be in his writer mode and he'll have this fabulous idea, and I'll be working and focusing on something else, and he'll come into my space and he'll start telling me about his idea. This is so not a good time. And this is like an ongoing dynamic that happens in our relationship, and it's kind of comical because sometimes if I'm feeling grounded and I'm feeling good and I'm not feeling stressed out, I'm like, babe, you're kind of doing that thing again where I'm working, can you call somebody, or like I'm in, yeah, okay. And if I've had a stressful day and I've been with the kids all day and the phone's been ringing off the hook, X, Y, Z, whatever the stressors are, and I'm feeling a little...
And then he comes in.
It's like, whammo! And the beast comes out! And which doesn't make me feel good, because it's an overreaction to something that isn't actually that big a deal. He's not attempting to be inappropriate with me. He's in a particular space that I understand, which is not totally in his body, because he's writing, so he's up here, and he's kind of ungrounded. And he's kind of forgotten in that moment that maybe he should check in and ask before he unloads his creative process on me. So this is what we do. Number one, it's pretty simple. We acknowledge that we have feelings and it's okay to feel them. And everybody does. So this whole idea, and it's so isolating, this belief system we have, because it's like, and especially when you get into the world of spirit and you get into the world of self-help, and personal growth. Because you read all these books, you take workshops, and maybe you go to church, maybe you do a lot of yoga and you meditate a lot. And there's this sort of unspoken, in my opinion, inherent belief system that if you express any negative emotions, you must not be spiritual. That you're, oh, she sort of fell off the path there, she got angry. You know what? The most spiritual people that I've ever encountered in my life have very healthy tempers. Very healthy. What they know, it's not that there's no anger in them, it's that they know how to honor it, to listen to it, and to express it appropriately. It's a powerful force. Anger is fire. Do you think that women would have the right to vote? That people who are not of a Caucasian persuasion would be legislatively protected in their rights if nobody felt any rage about things that were not appropriate in our world? It's a driving force for change. It's an incredible energy, but we're terrified of it because when you get really angry, it feels like you could destroy the world. And that is a little scary. And it's not like we're in school and anyone says to us, okay, so here you are, good for you, you came into your body, you're on the earth, well done. So we're going to teach you to read and write, geography, politics, we're going to go through all this stuff with you, and you have this emotional body that you've been given. It's actually an internal guidance system. It's a gift from God. It's an amazing thing. It's kind of complicated, we're going to talk about that, but it's amazing. And it's been given to you as a gift to help guide you through your life. So when you have a feeling, we're going to get really excited about it. And we're going to make sure that you express it and you feel safe expressing it. And then we're going to teach you how to use it appropriately and how to listen to the guidance that it's giving you. So you're not kicking and screaming on the floor, which is what kids do, right? They don't have a filter. So they feel the energy and they just go. There's no stopping a 4-year-old from expressing her emotions, you know, unless she's been told over and over again that she's bad or spanked or punished, and she's learning how to withdraw all of that and hold it inside because she's scared of getting in trouble. Kids are amazing at expressing their feelings and being really honest, and we can learn a lot just from watching their process. What they're learning how to do is manage their emotions appropriately, and sadly, we dump all the old cultural, pardon me, crap on them. So we go, it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to be angry, you need to be quiet. So we shut them down, and then we wonder why they go off and they, you know, get really depressed when they're teenagers, and we wonder why the depression rate in the world is through the roof.
We're all with younger teenagers good. Like more
the
so.
suicide rate for teenagers is higher than it's ever been. The depression rate is higher than it's ever been. I don't actually think that more teenagers are depressed. I think it's being reported more. I think that we're slightly walking towards a place where we can acknowledge that teenagers are having trouble and that we talk about mental health in schools now. That's revolutionary. I mean, 20 years ago when I was in high school, those kinds of things were kind of discussed, but those were like the crazy kids. She had a nervous breakdown. She's got attention deficit. She's crazy. And there's a lot of shame and stigma around that. So it's changing, but you know, not at the rate that possibly we might like it to. The thing that I really love to add on, and I call this adulthood or graduating, graduating in terms of emotional maturity and wellness, is when you can A, acknowledge that you have feelings and be totally okay with it. So you're not judging yourself and you're not judging other people for having feelings, which is big too. Because of course what we do in a culture where we're told that feelings are bad is not only do we apply that to ourselves, we judge everybody. So the mother in the grocery store who's having a nuclear meltdown with her children, oh, she's not very spiritual. She's not a very good mother. She's screaming at her children. Well, she's just had a really challenging day. And her kid just took us something and broke it all over the floor on her foot. And she can't find her car keys. And so have some compassion, like, wow, she's having a moment. I wonder if I could step in there and shift it, like help shift that. But no, we love to judge each other. Yeah, well, I would never yell at my children in the grocery store. Look at that behavior over there. Without ever thinking, wow, so what could push me to be like that? Where's my moment? And then when you have a moment, it's deep shame. So you have your moment and you're losing it. You're in the parking lot and you've slammed your thumb in the door and you spilled your stuff everywhere. Your eggs are broken. Your boyfriend was a jerk this morning. Fill in the blanks. And you're having your moment. And all you can think to yourself is, oh my God, I hope nobody's watching because this is the worst thing ever that I am having this emotional reaction. I know, it's just a feeling. And it's okay. What if we lived in a culture where somebody walked by you, instead of going, they went like this. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I help you clean up your eggs? You good? Yeah? You know, you're clearly really angry. That's, obviously you need to be angry right now. That's good. I'm not judging. Wow, how transformative would that be? I think that one of the things that concerns me the most in our culture about that belief system to suppress emotion is particularly around pregnant women and postpartum mothers. Do you guys have kids? No. Do you have children? You do? Yeah. So you know what it's like to bring a newborn baby home from the hospital and how stressful that can be, and you feel like you've been, you know, run over by a truck a few times because you've just given birth and you're expected to care for this little person and you may or may not have help, and it can be a lot, especially if you have other little ones who require care. Well, as a culture, what do we do with postpartum depression, which frankly, I perceive as a totally natural, normal response to having a baby. There's a death that happens when you bring a new life into the world. That's how it works. Where there is birth, there is a death. Your life will never be the same. Yep, we're so excited this little person is here. It's a miracle. It's amazing. There's so much love and there's so much joy. And you probably feel like a truck just backed over you because you gave birth and you've been pregnant for 9 months. And your body, your body is attempting to possibly breastfeed and X, Y, Z. You might have other children to look after. It's an overwhelming experience. We don't acknowledge that culturally. It's supposed to be, I'm ready to have my picture taken now. This is a perfect moment. And look at, I am a perfect mother. This is the stress that we put on mothers. We're supposed to be, I'm sorry, I just had a human come out of my body. I'm feeling some intensity here. I'm trying to heal from that experience. And I'm supposed to be perfect and smiling and pretending that everything's fine. And what do? We label it postpartum depression and we stigmatize it. Oh, she's got depression. She should be.
Yeah,
the judgment and the whispering.
It's so true. It's so true.
Instead of like, wow, man, you just gave birth. And if you look at how in other cultures they treat, and I can say this because this is a room full of women. But stick around. In other cultures, the way that birth is treated is that for at least a period of 21 days after you give birth, you do nothing but care for your baby. You don't care for the other children unless you'd like to cuddle with them. You don't cook. You don't clean. Your focus is on bed rest, healing, nurturing yourself, and feeding your baby. Not even changing the diapers, just feeding. That's it. Can you imagine how that would shift the postpartum experience in our culture? Wow! Holy moly! And these are in so-called civilizations that we consider to be third world. We're much more civilized than that. Yeah, we have a woman come into the hospital for 24 hours, she gives birth, then we kick her out the next day to send her home by herself with her baby, not knowing if there's any framework in place to support her in healing, in being well, and in being strong to care for this infant or her family. That's really civilized. So the manifestations of our emotional dysfunction are many, and they're broad, and they're everywhere. And the drum that I'm beating today, since that is the theme of the show that we're at, is, let's talk about emotional wellness. There are people here that know a lot more about organic food and growing food and yoga than I do. That's not my area of expertise. But what I know about are emotions. And what I'm interested in is supporting people in becoming emotionally stronger and healthier, because I really perceive that it's a simple thing, that if we just adjust in our own process, you're living in a whole new life and in a whole new reality. And you don't have to go spend $5,000 on therapy, and you don't have to go and do 1,000 workshops and read a whole bunch of books. If you make those adjustments in your life, acknowledge that everybody has feelings. They're a gift, and they're natural, and they're normal.
Acknowledge yourself and other people.
And get to know them, because your feelings also mean different things. So sometimes your feeling will be like, don't go near that person, that's not a good thing. It's an intuitive feeling. And it takes some practice to get to know the different energies and to get to know how your body responds and what that means, those gut feelings and those, I'm not feeling safe, I'm not going to turn left right now, I'm going to turn right. That's a feeling. Well, unless you acknowledge and allow yourself to have the broad spectrum of feelings, you're shutting off your guidance system. God's trying to talk to you, but you can't hear him or her. You can't hear it. You can't feel, you can't learn and grow. And you can't, it makes your relationship with the divine a lot harder. Because the universe is always trying to talk to you. Always, 24 hours a day, trying to get in there. And the primary way the universe talks to us is through our emotional body, which is hard because we've decided to shut it down. The world's in a bit of disarray. I wonder if this has anything to do with it. So that's the long and the short of it. I believe my time is up, so thank you so much for coming and sitting here with me and chatting. And if you would like to come and enjoy some broccoli or a cupcake, please do. And